All right, guys. So yesterday, uh, meaning Thursday in class, we talked about um, factoring trinomials some more, factoring polynomials, and the classwork mainly revolved around when there was a 1 in this position right here. So this video is going to focus on when there's a number besides 1 in front of the x squared. All right, so this one does take a little bit more guesswork. We need to remember that we're multiplying two binomials to get this trinomial, and we're going to have either a plus or minus here, and then we're going to have something x, something, something x, something, and we'll work on filling in those blanks. But using the distributive property, we get our 12x squared by multiplying these two, and we get our 6 by multiplying these two. So if we can figure out the factors of 6 and 12, we can narrow down what numbers those might be. All right, so let's look at our factors of 12. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys tell me what the factors of 12 are. So our factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Our factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. All right. So we can't necessarily go with what they have in common. We need to go with multiple options. All right. It could be several combinations of these numbers. One thing I will point out is that this sign here and this sign here tell us what signs go here. All right. Positive, let's see. That positive says that you have the same sign in both binomials. And this one, if it's the same sign, this one tells you which sign it is. So if it's the same sign, tells you which. If this sign is different, or if it's a minus, it tells you that it's different signs. Because a positive times a negative is the only way you're going to get a negative. If it's a negative times a negative or a positive times a positive, you're going to get a positive. If different, it doesn't really tell you that much other than what the sum of your x terms need to be. So I'm not going to write that one down for you because it doesn't necessarily tell you that much. You just know that you need to have them all add up to positive 17. All right. So moving back to factoring 12x squared plus 17x plus 6, we can start testing some options. So let's go with 6x plus 3 and then the factor of 6x is 2x to make 12, and then 3 and 2 is 6. So 3 and 2. So again, these two need to multiply to equal 6, and these two need to multiply to equal 12. Okay, now if we distribute, we get 12x squared plus 12x plus 6x plus 6. Okay, so that's 12x squared plus 18x plus 6. And that does not match our original trinomial. So we're going to try another one. We also need to make sure, and this being wrong does not mean that my factors that I chose are wrong. It means that they could possibly be in the wrong order. So let's try switching the 2x and the 6x. All right, so 2x times 6x is 12x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. 3 times 6x is 18x. Plus 3 times 2 is 6. Combine like terms, and you've got plus 22x plus 6. So that's not right either. So we can officially say that it's not 2 and 6 and 2 and 3. It could still be 2 and 6 and 1 and 6, or 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. So we just kind of have to keep going. After you do a few of these, you might pick up some intuition that kind of tells you, okay, that's not going to make sense. So let's try 4x plus 3 and 3x plus 2. It's a little harder with a number like 12 where they have multiple possible factors for you to use. But 4x times 3x is 12x squared. 4x times 2 is 8x. 3 times 3x is 9x. And 3 times 2 is 6. So we've got 12x squared plus 17x plus 6. And that does match our original equation. So our answer is 4x plus 3 times 3x plus 2. All right, let's try another one. This one is 6x squared minus 3x plus 5. This one should be a little bit easier. Just because 5 is a prime number and 6 has fewer factors than 12. So go ahead and tell me what the factors of 6 and 5 are. Okay, so 6, the factors are 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. 5, your factors are 1 and 5. That's the only two things you can multiply and get 5. So we know that it's going to be x and 1 and x and 5. So looking back at our signs, I can go ahead and fill that in. This plus 5 tells me that they are going to be the same sign. And when they're the same sign, this is the sign that tells me what it is. So we know that they are both going to be something x minus 1 and something x minus 5. So why don't you go ahead and tell me which combination it is, and be very careful about the order that you put it in. So if you tell me that it's x minus 1 times 6x minus 5, make sure it's x minus 1 times 6x minus 5 and not 6x minus 1 and x minus 5. Okay? It's going to be multiple choice. So go ahead and tell me what you think the answer is. Okay, so let's try this. Let's go with, I think the answer is going to be 2 and 3. I'm just guessing right now, but we're going to check and see. All right, so I'm just going to put it in order, 2 and 3. All right, 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x times 5, or 2x times minus 5. Do not forget your minus symbol here. A lot of you do that on a regular basis. So remember that this minus affects this 5. So it's 2x squared minus 10x. And then minus 1 times 3x is minus 3x. And then you've got minus 1 times minus 5. Okay, and then that is going to be plus 5. And it looks like I guessed correctly. It's going to be 6x squared minus 13x plus 5. And that matches our original equation or expression. So like I said, you develop a little bit of intuition about it. And then you just check and make sure that you're right. These ones do require that you check. I know on the other ones, if you're positive that you're right, you don't need to. These ones you need to, just because unless you do all of the distributing for each of the options in your head, you have no real way of knowing that you're right. All right, let's look at 16x squared minus 2x minus 5. So go ahead and tell me the factors for 16 and 5. 16, your factors are 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and 4 and 4. 5, your factors are 1 and 5. Okay. So, this one, this sign tells us that we've got different signs. So we know one is going to be subtraction, one is going to be addition. But because of that, we don't know if our 1 goes here and our 5 goes here, or our 5 goes here and our 1 goes here. So that adds to our guesswork and trial and error. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and say that my 1 is going to be negative and my 5 is going to be positive. That's just a guess. Here, I'll put it in red so you can tell that these are just what I'm guessing. I think that because this is a minus 2 and that's a relatively small number, the 5 is going to need to be positive. Again, we're going to check and see. I may be wrong right now. All right, and then let's go with 2x and 8x. So if I distribute, I got 2x times 8x is 16x squared. 2x times 5 is plus 10x. minus 1 times 8x is minus 8x, and minus 1 times 5 is minus 5. So I got 16x squared plus 10x minus 8, or sorry, that's plus 2x. 10x minus 8x is 2x minus 5. Okay, so it's actually pretty close to what I had before, but this sign right here is wrong. So I'm going to guess that I need to switch and make I'm going to switch my signs so that this is negative and this is positive. So if you get the numbers right, try switching the signs that your numbers are paired with, okay? And again, this is just something that will come more naturally when you've done a few and you develop some intuition about these things. So 16x squared, 2x times negative 5 is minus 10x. 1 times 8x is plus 8x. And 1 times minus 5 is minus 5. So I get 16x squared minus 2x minus 5. All right, so that tells me that this right here, I factored correctly. Okay, so that's all for this video. In class on Tuesday, we'll do more practice problems for these.